Myself, I'm born and reared in New York, always having been in a kind of a middle class structure. Uh, Never suffered too terribly. Went to integrated schools, got an education in the New York school system, a college education. Uh, at 17, I dated white girls. There was some displeasure at it, but I did it, and I had no guilt about it. For some reason or the other, I never associated myself with the welfare recipient, the unemployed person. And now I realize that these are my people, that I should be able to do something for them or with them. But yet I haven't. So that, I think, is where the guilt comes in. I have empathy for my people, but yet in my middle class value, I still kind of think of them as those people. And I'm aware of it, and I think a lot of people in my particular class, if you will, is aware of it, but we're reluctant. We are just imbued with this white middle class value where we think white. So I take the position that these people have been denied, and I continue to say these people. Notice that. I continue to say these people. And like I'm not one of them, when in fact I am one of them. I take the position now that I should help, I should do what I can. I have begun to protest. I will now picket. I will now speak out with my white counterpart about the injustices that have occurred to my people, when before, say 15 years ago, I kind of behaved like it didn't exist. But now when I read, when it's brought...
So, I've done a lot of digging, so to speak. And, what I like to do is I like to look at authentic. This was an interview and if you look at the whole video, it's great. I mean, it's very informative, but it was a video that was actually filmed during this time period. You got an authentic interview of what was taking place at that time. It was actually published at that time. But what I gather is if you look at this picture, this is what I gather. And if you watched it, some people on here have watched it. These people didn't even associate with each other. So people have this romanticized idea of the past, but it was very separate. I'm glad you have there, because I know Chaos, it was one of the people who actually saw the video. So go ahead, Chaos.
Shan, not only did I see these videos, I actually have a baccalaureate degree in African studies, and I used to get chased out of class. What happened was, and please God forgive me, unlike the white race, blacks don't practice classism. At least we stopped practicing classism.
Because in that video they did, right?
Right. So in that video, the blacks in California had moved away from their ignorant black relatives. And they had said the blacks had said, hey, we don't even want these Negroes to move around us, migrating here. What happened between that picture at the top versus the picture at the bottom is the integration of the inferior blacks around the superior blacks. And these blacks who are at the bottom have outbred these superior blacks. Shan, you are a superior black. You have 2 children. But Shan, there are black women who have 5 and 6 kids of the inferior class, and those kids will have 3 and 4 kids. They are outbreeding you. They are literally outbreeding you. The lower tier blacks have 5 kids to 1. And that is the difference between the photo at the top and the photo at the bottom. And you know what happens is that Shan, you're complicit. Mistaken, you're complicit. Even me, I'm complicit. When I worked at these social service programs, when I was a teacher, I was assisting with these bastard kids. Give me a second, I'm almost done. I was assisting with them. I had a lady, a young girl on my caseload when I was a caseworker one time. I went into her house. House was filthy. She was overweight. She had 4 kids. She just had a baby girl. And she said, "How can I get my life together?" I'm like, "You're asking me? Well, I don't know. What the? Stop fucking." And I told her that. I said, "You need to stop having sex. Listen, be you by yourself, but don't bring human beings into this reality and have them living in abject poverty. Just be by yourself." And that's what needs to be said to all these blacks. So you won't get the picture at the bottom. That woman at the bottom is a real woman, Shan. Did you know that? That woman has about 9 kids. For what? Why is she breeding? And why are you encouraging her to breed? You as the teacher, you as the caseworker, you as the police officer, you as the pastor in these communities. Tell them, stop fucking. Because you're bringing lower tier blacks into this existence that don't need to be in this reality. They're not going to compete. They're going to either be in jail, they're going to either get killed, or they're going to end up working for the white man at the bottom, at some bottom feeding job. Let's be honest. And that's what needs to be said so that picture at the bottom won't exist. But I know I'm the crazy one. I'm the coon. I have been drinking too tonight, but I know, right?
It's just the way you say it.
But that needs to be said. I say it all the time. You Negroes need to stop breeding. Let the superior blacks breed. Mistaken needs to breed. Shan needs to breed. Nas needs to breed. The superior black woman needs to breed. You black women on the panel need to have 10, 15 kids. You're getting outbred by the Shaniquas. See, I ain't got to worry about it. I don't have any kids.
Why is her name Shaniqua? It could be a whole other host of names.
It's a archetype of the lower tier black woman. Let's keep it a buck.
Is there another Shaniqua, a term?
Bonquisha, Shaniqua, it don't matter.
Yeah, Bonquisha, I like that. That's not
okay.
a real name.
It's shameful.
Well, chaotic using your logic real quick. Just real quick. I'm gonna let you keep
shameful.
going. But using your logic, why aren't you breeding? Why aren't you and your wife having kids?
I'm short.
I'm going back on mute.
He's being honest.
Wait, hold on.
I'm short, and I don't know what he cares, but I'm short. But what I'm saying is that Inez,
chaotic. How many kids should I have? I mean,
well, you're 6'7", so you need to be breeding basketball players. So yeah, man.
Look, a Shaniqua has arrived who looks like not a.
So like, give me a number and what's a realistic number.
You need to have 10 kids.
Put some respect on her name, son. You see that?
Appreciate what you just said. I'm just pointing it out.
Shaniqua. Oh, sorry, Shaniqua.
Yeah, apologize. Thank you.
Shaniqua,
I mean, even if you could have just said Shantae. I know my name is not. I wouldn't have taken offense to it.
Marcus, you need to be raising a basketball team, to be honest with you. Yeah.
And Marcus is, even though Marcus has this, he's not. So let's not use the word superior and inferior.
See, and that's the problem, Shan.
Listen,
that's the problem. Soft blacks are so afraid to keep it real, Shan. You're soft.
But we have to influence people. We don't have. Okay, so there's ways to say what we're going to say, but not.
You want to tickle people to death? What do you do? Tickle people to make them feel good? You need to be superior, Shan. You are a superior black woman. You need to be blunt.
Well, see,
Shan, if your son brought home a Shaniqua from the projects who had 2 kids, she walked into your house, would you have that same mindset that you have right now?
He wouldn't do that.
He wouldn't do that. You don't know dudes.
Can you do me a favor? Pull that picture up one more time.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that I don't think inferior or superior is the correct term, only because I think it has a lot. Hold on, I think it has a lot to do with in terms of income. So income. Hold on, income. Actually, kind of goes in the realm of the fact that it provides whether you have access or don't have access. But what I think in terms of regarding your ability to think, your ability to reason, your ability to learn, all of those things that would move you from one class to another, is not necessarily mean that you're inferior. You can be poor and not have money, but still have the ability and intellect. So that's why I don't think inferior is the proper term. Because there are so many people who were like Mozart. You just talked about Mozart. He was a genius in terms of music, but he was poor.
So when we talk, let me just clarify this. Let me just clarify some things, okay? I see what chaotic is saying. I see what mistaken is saying. We can go back to the basketball player Zion. Even though you have money, does not change your mentality. You understand what I'm saying? Money doesn't change your mentality. It just doesn't. That's why we see people getting in issues. It doesn't. Look at Future. You're saying Future has class.
I'm not talking about a basketball player. I am talking about Shan.
But she was saying the same thing.
Shan, you're a teacher. Mistaken. You're a teacher. I used to teach. You know damn well that it's not about economics. You know a lot of the times it's about genetics. Some people don't have the genetics. German whites, for some reason, are good at engineering. I have no idea why Germans are good at engineering. Japanese people, for some reason, are just smart as shit. There is a genetic template. And listen, let's be honest. Nobody goes to Mexicans to build anything. Let's be honest. There are certain people who have certain genes, and a lot of these people you're showing don't have the gene pool for it. They just don't.
That's what I'm trying to say, chaotic, is where you're wrong. I do agree that some things have to do with genetics, but that's when we're going into nature or nurture. And there has been numerous studies that show, and actually I'm a product of that. I went to a school that was a study school, so to speak, where it was a gifted and talented school. But it was a big project to bring those who were in, the hood and commingle and mix them with those who weren't. And based on that, it was basically looking at if you surround those who are poor in an environment in which the level of education and all of those things that they're exposed to, would they be able to rise to the occasion? In a lot of those situations, it is about the environment. You put people in the correct environment and they can thrive, because that has nothing to necessarily do with intellect. But if you're poor and everybody around you is poor and they have the same mentality, same thought process, same environment, it is very difficult when you're going to an educational system that sees you as unintelligible, that you just don't have the ability. So they're going to teach you at that level. But if you put somebody in a situation in which the standard is high, they typically rise to that occasion, because your poorness, your that has nothing to do with your intellect. You have to be in a situation in which your intellect is challenged, you're able to get that. And a lot of times when you're in a poor environment, that does not necessarily happen. So that's why I say
I got a question for you.
Or superior aspect.
I got a question for you. How much do you believe this? Do you truly believe this?
Sir,
he does.
Sir, not only do I believe in it, listen, dude, I have all types of underwater basket weaving degrees, and one of them is in African studies. I literally wrote papers on this, and I used to get chased out of my African studies classes. I am telling you, certain blacks are genetically inferior.
I would say that. Let me just say this real fast, educationally.
Do you think you deserve to exist?
Sir, that is up for somebody else's opinion. In my opinion, yes. But sir, maybe I don't. The fact of the matter is that The picture at the top versus the picture at the bottom clearly shows a genetic difference. These people may have the same skin tone, but you can look at their eyes. You can look at them and tell that they're almost like white. Okay, let me ask you a question. Coach K is white, right? Even though she doesn't claim to be. I don't know why. She looks totally different from most West Virginian whites. You know why? Because West Virginian whites, a lot of them are inbred. They are inferior to Coach K. It's the truth. And they even admit it.
So let me ask you a question.
There might be some. There's a
first of all. A second mistaken.
Why haven't you taken your own license?
Real fast.
There's a lot of inbreeding. There's a lot of inbreeding that takes place in the inner cities. Everybody knows it. You know why? How many black men have all types of kids that they don't even contact and talk with? Those kids may mingle and mix with cousins that don't even know it. There's a lot of inbreeding. I'm telling you, this has been going on for 50, 60, 70 years, probably 80 years. There's a lot of inbreeding possibly going on in the African-American community. I've been screaming this for years. Everybody looks at me like I'm crazy. I'm telling you, some of these kids are inbred like those people in West Virginia. Go ahead.
I'm offended by you saying that about West Virginia because my family is from West Virginia.
But you're black.
Real fast. I have a question for Mistaken.
Yes.
I understand. I do agree that a lot of it has to do with environmental. A lot of us got it from our parents. It trickled down. You were raised in a certain certain values, and blah blah blah. But you don't think that sometimes it is a little genetic? I was to use myself. My son's father is brilliant. Like, the guy is brilliant. I don't even have a debate with him because he will beat me every time. And my son, is I'm like to brag on my kid. My son, he's kind of brilliant too. And I don't take credit for that. Like, his brilliance is to another level, and he gets it from his dad. You know what I'm saying? Because that's just the people that they are. But you don't think that is, I'm not saying majority of it, but just a little bit of it can be genetic.
I think there are some aspects that genetics do play a role, but I'm talking about in general overall. So y'all know, like, my background is in special education. So these are students who have a disability. That's something that they, could not help. That was something that they were genetically disposed to, whatever that specific disability was. Gotcha. However, even in that situation, providing the right environment also increased their level of intellect. A lot of times when kids are in special education, everybody perceives them as not having the ability to do well. And so they teach them to that level. Whereas if you put them in an environment, that's where this whole inclusion thing came in, and wanting to put them in general ed classes to expose them to behaviors and curriculum that would challenge them to do better so they can see the behaviors of other kids and model that. But even from my own specific experience, I had a student who was where I had to team teach with the teacher, and he was classified as, back, what y'all would understand as being, I hate saying this, but retarded, but they don't use that term anymore, right?
But it is a retardation,
right?
Retardation.
And
so chaotic. How do you feel about Stephen Hawking? Like, how do you explain it?
In school, he, what they call intellectually delayed. That's the proper term. Is intellectually delayed. So when he came to my class, I went in. That was the very first time being in an environment, and mine was a self-contained environment within itself, but those students that was in there were higher functioning than what he was. In that environment, that was the very first time that he passed a state standardized test. So will he be all the way up here? No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that the environment plays a crucial role into how successful a kid can be. So when we try to push everybody out with the wash to say that, oh, if they're genetically, inferior, then you're going to treat them like they're inferior, and therefore the results is going to be inferior. But if you're treating everybody at a level of which, holding them to high standards, those who can, they will. Those who can't, they won't. But we can't get into this idea of saying that blacks are just inferior. We just cannot do that.
So I just want to say this real quick.
I can vouch for that. I've seen that happen. You're right. Go ahead.
I think this is an example of when you. No, you got it,
Marcus.
You ain't saying no.
And I think there's some valid points. I think there's some valid points that both Chaotic and Mistaken made. But I think, and this is the reason I asked Shan to bring the picture back up, because I don't think the video and the picture go hand in hand. And the reason for that is the one thing that I noticed, which was the difference between the two pictures, was the man standing in the back. I didn't see a dad with the picture on the bottom. I don't remember seeing that, but I do remember seeing it with the picture that was on top. I don't think that actually necessarily goes into classism. I think that goes more into this discussion that we continue to have week after week after week after week of where is the father in the picture, because I believe that with a male in the picture, I think that kind of changes what actually happens inside of the house. Instead of I don't want to, this is going to sound awful, instead of women making reckless decisions because there's no stable man, the stable man helps control some of the decision making inside of the home. And so the question that I have is, I think we've kind of moved the debate. It's not the classism, it is where is the dad, and I think that's where that conversation needs to start.